Welcome to another episode of the Scales of Success podcast. Today, I am joined by Jeff Hampton. He owns two law firms and he specializes in something very interesting to me as a marketer myself. He specializes in helping lawyers learn how to generate more views on YouTube. He has one YouTube channel that has over 300,000 subscribers. We're going to be diving deep into his systems and processes and how your law firm can grow organically on YouTube as well. Jeff, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Ryan. I appreciate it, man. I'm excited about today's conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's start by talking about your two law practices. So break those down for me, practice areas, where you operate, and how those businesses are performing.
You bet. So my first kind of a primary law firm that I started about 15 years ago is Hampton Law, which eventually I ended up merging with my current partner, and it's Jeff Hampton criminal defense attorney. So as it sounds, we have a criminal defense law firm. I was a prosecutor for 5.5 years in the Fort Worth area in Texas. Came out, started a criminal practice. We've got 6 lawyers now, 12 staff. So it's a pretty decent sized criminal defense law firm for the North Texas area. And that's it. So mainly Texas, right? We cover the North Texas area. But about 2.5, 3 years ago, I started a separate law firm, and it's an asset protection law firm that is very niche. It's asset protection for Airbnb owners. So it's essentially, it's called STR Law Guys. And that particular business, I started YouTube channels for both of those businesses and really just tried to have more of a disruptive model, which is to say, hey, look, a lot of attorneys put a lot of their information behind a paywall and they don't really share a lot of their secrets. And so instead, I kind of took the whole Alex Hormozi approach, which is give away the secrets and sell the implementation. And as a part of doing that, it really just exponentially increased both businesses in terms of revenue.
I'm a big YouTuber myself. I have 3 businesses that I operate, and for 14 years now, I've been creating some form of video content. And so this business that we're talking about now is a law firm marketing agency, and it's been incredibly impactful there because of how jaded attorneys are about working with agencies. And it's also a very commoditized market, just to be fair. Every attorney in the world who's worth their salt knows about online marketing and SEO and search marketing. And it's really hard as an agency to stand out. And I found that if they can watch 2, 3, 4 of our videos, they not only come in super warmed up, but almost sole source in the contract to be like, hey, we love what you had to say. We want to talk just to you. So YouTube has been an incredibly powerful channel for our agency, but also my other 2 businesses. And something that we've been pushing more and more onto our clients. And that's what I want to focus on. I've got a lot of questions lined up for you here, Jeff, because getting our attorney clients, no offense, lawyers, to do anything specifically, I mean, even to answer, they're paying us a lot of money, even to answer our emails, it takes sometimes 2 weeks, but let alone to create a video, right? So let's start there. Because you said that you do coaching for attorneys to help them grow on YouTube as well. So let's start there. Before we talk about growth strategies and tactics and the YouTube algorithm, how do you start to actually get attorneys to create either the time or the mental space to create video content?
Such a great question, because when I consult with attorneys, they can take a look at my channels and go, yeah, man, you've been doing this now and you've gotten used to doing, or maybe they have this mindset that you're naturally good in front of the camera, so this is easy for you. And I remind people, go back and look at my earlier videos on Hampton Law, and they are pathetic. They are not great. And of course, I had no one helping me get an idea of what I should be doing. I was learning everything through trial and error. But I want to say this, here's the easiest way to get started. Super easy. The super easiest way to do this is to start, number one. This is what when I meet with someone for the first time and I talk to a lawyer, I'll say, here's what you do. You know your business better than everybody else. You're the expert. So because you are, the first thing I want you to do is use the 80-20 principle. What is the 20% of your service offerings that are making you 80% of your revenues? Whatever those are, I want you to now take that 20% and then sit down, write down what those are, and then go through. Maybe it's your staff, maybe it's your other attorneys, or maybe it's just you. Write down 20 FAQs. What are the frequently asked questions? And I'm gonna give you an example. One of the areas that I knew for criminal defense when I first started this, we got we had a aggravated assault deadly weapon cases were very good for us because they were it was a high fee, but yet I knew, as being a former prosecutor, many of them are messy and they're hard for prosecutors to prove many times. And so we were able to get good results on a lot of them. So what I started doing is creating videos about aggravated assault deadly weapon, about really getting specific about that offense. And when you first start, the idea of a long video is overwhelming. Okay, it's like, I can't imagine doing a 5 or 10 minute video. What am I going to say? It sounds like a lot of work. Well, don't do that. When you first start, just do shorts, do 60-second or less long videos. And what you do is you practice. Doesn't matter how bad you think it is, just stand in front of a camera, look at the camera like you would your client, and give them the answer to the FAQ and say, and present the question first, right? There's your hook. The hook is to say, you know, what's the first thing you should do if you've been arrested for an aggravated assault deadly weapon in Texas, right? Then you proceed. You jump right into the content, just like maybe it's a 3-step deal. First thing you should do is X. Second thing you should do is Y. Third thing you should do is Z. And then essentially after you've done that, don't try to sell people. Just give them the value. On a short, all you're trying to do is create awareness, and you're trying to get people to go, wow, who is this guy? And the algorithm, if the people will not swipe, but they'll watch it, and then they continue to watch to the end, you're going to have that suggested and thrown out there more on that shorts feed, and it'll give you a little bit of feedback. You'll say, oh wow, look, 200 people saw this short. There was some likes on it. Now it's a lot harder on longer videos, because longer videos are a totally different algorithm, right? But when you want to get started, practice with shorts. And then as you do it, you can repurpose those same shorts on Instagram and TikTok. If you want to do that, you're creating leverage. So that way you're getting more bang for your buck by doing shorts. And then after you've done 20 to 30 of those, you're going to start saying, okay, now what if I just stack a few of these points where I did the 3 points for the aggravated assault? What if I just expound on them a little bit more? And now I'm creating a 3, 4, 5 minute video, and I script it out. And you don't have to read it word for script, but you've got an outline that you can follow, and you slowly work your way up to it. And now, and that's how I would start. And of course I could just keep talking, but I want to get people comfortable understanding this is a process. Get it in front of a camera. And once you get started, once you hit record, things get a lot easier. We just have this obstacle in our mind where we say, well, no, I can't do this. You don't have to have an expensive setup. You can start off just using your iPhone or whatever. But that's what is key. Just do some short form content to get started.
Yeah, I totally agree with everything. It's ironic, not ironic. I guess it's very similar. So my other business, I actually coach, probably the same as you. I coach agencies on how to run a systems-based business, processes pull themselves out, and obviously acquisition is a big part of that. And I push video content on them as well. And especially, when you have your kind of niche dialed in, if you will, similar to what you talked about, a lot of people will probably look at a channel like yours and say, wow, Jeff is getting 300,000 views on a video he published a month ago. I can't compete with that. When in reality, when your videos are targeted, right, and you're going after kind of the right topics, even 200 views, like my channel for lawyers only has 3,000 subscribers. We're only getting 100 to 500 views, but if they're all attorneys, right, it's very, very, very powerful and very sticky, right? There's a lot of teeth behind those views. And also, too, a lot of people, I think, as you alluded to, get stuck on the camera equipment. I'm at this point where I've been doing this for 15 years. I have a DSLR camera. This is my home office setup. I've got a studio office set. I've got a bunch of different places that I film. But again, to your point, if you go back on my channel and scroll all the way down to 14 years ago, you'll see the first ones that I did. Stupid little screen share video, terrible audio, terrible microphone. But just like anything in business, right? I tell my consulting clients all the time that you just put one foot in front of the other. Keep walking for a year. You're going to look back and you're going to be a completely different place. The amount of learning, the amount of insight, the amount that it's also helped me to learn more about the legal industry by doing research and testing and getting feedback, bringing on people like yourself for additional content. It's only helped my business grow, right? And it's the same thing with lawyers too. It's one of those things where you gotta start. It's very cliche, but you just gotta start. So yes. I do have a question for you, kind of going back to the shorts versus long, right? Shorts is a newer-ish on YouTube uh, placement, if you will. But where do you find that most of your views are coming from? If you were to break down your YouTube channel's analytics, right, is it coming from, because like the amount of views you're getting, Jeff, is insane. To the point where when I first saw your channel, I actually thought that they might have been fake or promote or pumped up by advertising, that you can pump up for a very relatively low cost, but the engagement on it's real. I can see that. I have tools on my end that I can see that these are real views. Where are your views coming from, right? Are they coming more from people searching for these terms, or was that in the beginning when you were creating more FAQ based content, and now you've kind of hacked the YouTube algorithm where you're getting onto people's feeds because they're more viral, they're more clickbaity, if you will, or more topic focused?
Great question. So the way I started, you have to see this as two different things. So the first thing is when you first start a YouTube channel, the only thing I cared about, I don't need to go viral, don't care about that. The only thing I cared about is I want phone calls. The number one reason I'm starting this YouTube channel is to generate leads and business for my law firm. And so when you do that, my strategy is very specific when I consult with people. The first thing I do is I say, look, you need to start narrow. So you need to create narrow content, super niche. So for instance, let's say you're a criminal defense attorney. Well, then you need to go through those practice areas that are specific. For me, Texas, and I'm going to have Texas wording. I'm going to have information that is SEO, search engine optimized based keywords that you can either pull from the Google Keyword Planner. You can use vidIQ, TubeBuddy. There's different types of options that are out there that are AI driven that will help you optimize your video. You want to put that both in the title. You want to load that up in the description, relatively good keyword usage within the description. And the tags. And even though the tags don't matter as much, it's provided to you by YouTube and you use them. And when I did that, you're 100% right. When you first start, I don't have to have millions of views. I just need the right eyeballs on my videos. And so I tell people this all the time. YouTube is the second largest search engine in the world, right behind Google. And guess what Google does? Google will sometimes display videos as part of their long tail keyword searches. And you'll be able to rank both on YouTube and Google if you do it properly. And you can then turn around and repurpose them on your website. I'll put videos on my website as a blog post people will watch that video much longer than they will read a blog post. They don't care about a blog post.
Yeah.
And so when you use these strategies, when you first start, with less than 10,000 subscribers. Yeah, I'm at 321,000 now. But when I had less than 10,000 subscribers, I was still getting 50 to 70 calls a month, okay, for my YouTube channel, specifically local based calls for people wanting to hire me, okay, because I was optimizing those videos properly and I was hitting the practice areas that were both geographically relevant and practice area relevant to what I provide. Then, after you've exhausted those practice areas, then you can go broad. And here's the way I describe it. You go narrow first, then when you go broad, think about your expertise, whatever you are. If you're a criminal lawyer, you know constitutional rights, you know those sort of things. Then think about pop culture, okay? Pop culture's over here. Right in the middle between pop culture and your expertise is an area where it's all about framing. You can frame your content in a way through things like storytelling and listicles. You can frame your content in a way that attracts people that both want your services, but also are interested in your content that will build your brand, okay? So at some point, I transitioned from just trying to get phone calls and SEO-based content to building a brand. And now I have social proof. So when people come to my actual channel and they see 17 million views a month, they see 321,000 subscribers, they're way more likely to watch my video if they have curiosity because they're like, wow, that has 500,000 views. What am I missing out on here? That's when you can transition to that next level. But I tell people, don't worry about that on the front end. Because even now, I might get 200 calls a month after going from 10,000 to 320,000. But remember, I was getting 50 to 70 and I had less than 10,000 subscribers.
Yeah, I love that. There's in my training, I actually have a slide where it has two circles that kind of overlap in the middle, and it says when formatting videos, it needs to be either informative or entertainment. That's really what YouTube, it's kind of your point. The narrow is the informative, right? That's the easiest place to start. That's based on your knowledge. There's plenty of tools that will show you the keyword data. It should tie in directly to your SEO strategy. It's very simple. We do SEO is like our core service that we do for our clients. And essentially what we do is we build them a content workbook that has all the topics, the keywords. And then I tell them literally, I'm like, look, get your cell phone out. You don't need a microphone. Put it on your stand up next to your computer and just literally take this keyword and start talking about it, right?
Yes.
Answer the question, start talking about it. And then now we have a video asset that goes with the written asset for the website that gets distributed, to your point, on the second largest search engine. But then also, and this is why I love shorts content too, to start, you now have a video asset that can be used for advertising across all platforms: Meta, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, even on YouTube as well. That short 30 to 60 second video is by far the best performing advertising lead generation asset that there is for lawyers. But getting that asset can be very difficult, to your point, and it really just starts at the most simplest level of just informing. And then as you grow and you scale, then you can start to think about more about the entertainment value that YouTube provides. And that's really where my mind has really been blown going through this process as a creator first, and now YouTube is like kind of the only it's a social network, really. It's the only social network that I really use and I spend a lot of time on. And realizing fully now the future power of YouTube and what it's becoming, and like what the younger generation is watching. Like, they're not watching TV. They're not even watching Netflix anymore. They're watching YouTube. It's pretty nuts. And when you start to look at it, this is where I'm looking over here at your YouTube channel, your most recent content, where you've really done a masterful job of taking those two circles, like I said, and then focusing on the middle, which is taking an informative content like how to protect yourself if cops find ammo in your car, right? That's an informative content that has that search value, that has that teeth, if you will, that if people watch it, they'll still potentially want to call your law firm, right? And then also the entertainment value and how you're presenting that, the graphics that you're using, the B-roll video that you're using, it becomes much more entertainment value as well. And that's when things really start to get explosive, which we can see, right? And I was also watching some of your videos before, and you've done a really good job of kind of overlaying just simple graphics that say it removes the direct response marketing from it, where it's like, hey, call me now if you've got a DUI in Texas, call me now, versus you're taking that much larger brand approach, right, where you're creating this informative content. You become your own media channel now, right? And you're advertising 100%. Your own videos. And it also, as an attorney too, me learning much more about the legal space and how a lot of lawyers make money. You can make a lot of money generating leads and generating interest, even if they're not in Texas, even if you're not necessarily licensed in that state. Some of the lawyers, I put that in air quotes, not to be, but like, that make the most money are the ones that are just marketers like yourself. They're like, I don't deal with cases anymore. I don't talk to clients anymore. I just generate the leads and I sell them. So there's a whole world that you've now opened up for yourself. And you've just mastered. It's beautiful to see it. You've just mastered that. And I've never really seen somebody in the legal space. I've seen like Top Dog Law. I'm sure you've seen some of his stuff too.
Yeah.
It's more the short form, but the long form version of this is really, really executed well. So talk to me about the consistency of this in your time, because that's something that I see a lot of clients struggle with as well. It's like, we'll give them 20 topics, they create it, and then they go to trial. They're gone for 2 months, or they go on vacation, they're gone for 3 weeks. Like, something that I know about YouTube too, in all social consistency, right? Like, it's not enough to just batch out 10 pieces of content and then take a year off or 6 months off. How do you coach your clients to stay consistent? How do you get them to bake this into their calendar, if you will, to create video on a regular basis?
So this is really good. This is important because I learned this the hard way. It's real easy, particularly when you really kind of go down the rabbit hole. I'm a little bit of an obsessive person when it comes to whatever I do. And when I started doing YouTube, I wanted to learn as much as I could. I went outside what I saw on the legal side. I started looking at other creators that were doing things on the entertainment side and in other areas. And I was like, no one's doing this on the legal side. So when you start incorporating that in, and there's so many things that could be discussed here, but the number one way to make it manageable so you don't feel like YouTube overtakes your life or you're having to do something every week is one of the things we do at YouTube Rainmakers. We have kind of a full service agency approach with some of our clients. And what we'll do is we'll do this. We'll say, look, we're going to put together, and this is the order I do it for all my videos, is first thing you do because you're going to people get so deflated if they put all this time and effort into a video and then it's a total flop. And you can never know for sure if a video is going to 100% do well or not. I've been disappointed. I have a recent video that I'm disappointed in. There is some sense of trial and error, but you can limit that trial and error as you learn about your audience. But in order to be able to exist and make this work where you don't feel like you're overtaken on your time, is you do want to batch record, but batch prepare. And what I mean is, what we do is I want to find a winning idea. How do I know I have a winning idea? And I'm not going to talk about knowing your audience yet. We'll talk about that later. But the number one thing is, if I don't have a thumbnail that I feel high conviction about, thumbnail being the piece of art that you see on an impression on YouTube. If I don't feel like I have a good thumbnail, I won't do the video, no matter how excited I am about the topic. Because if you don't earn the click, none of it matters. You have to give enough curiosity and interest in what you're doing to make sure people care enough to watch it. And so the first thing I do is put together titles and thumbnails together. Then based on that title and thumbnail concept, and we usually have at least two or three titles and two or three thumbnails, because there's testing features that YouTube allows you to test those thumbnails now, where we then put that together first, then we put together the script, and we'll do it for 4 videos. I tell people, once you really get serious about this, you're going to do 1 long form video per week, 1. But if you batch all of them, 4 of them in advance, you sit down, take about 2 hours, literally 2 hours out of your whole month's schedule, and you record 4. Right out of the gate, you just record a month's worth of content, and you only had to schedule 2 hours out of your month to get that done. Then what we do is try to make it super easy on lawyers. We then find the best parts of those videos, and then we create shorts from them. So we then go in, cut them out, repurpose them. I have shorts right now that I've only done a few custom shorts. My next step for me is to do really custom shorts, and I think my channel will 10x from here if I do that. But all I've done, because I'm running multiple law firms, is repurpose my content I'm already doing. And I've got some with 6-7 million views from repurposed shorts. And you can do that. And then here's the key. Shorts are made to be bridge content. They're supposed to bridge people's awareness to your longer video. Because as much as I like shorts only create awareness. They do not create trust. If I hear you talk for 60 seconds, I don't know enough to trust you. But if I get enough interest, you pique my interest, and then I go watch your longer form video, then I'm going to say, oh, wow, this guy's an expert. Look at all this information he shared with me. And then if I'm smart, you got to think about the journey. Here's the next step. The next step is at the end of your video, use an end screen. If you used an end screen, which is you put up the next video on the journey. Like for instance, if I'm talking about a cop coming to my front door on the current video, I need to say, listen, now that we just covered cops at your front door, what happens if he makes it inside your house? What can you do to protect yourself? Check out this next video where I break down step for step what you can do to protect yourself if cops make it in your home. And then I literally point to the end screen. I have some videos that have a 20% click-through rate on that end screen, and the average viewer watches 3.8 videos when they go to my channel. 3.8. That is a binge watching effect because I'm making their experience easy to follow. And if they liked that content and they watched all the way to the end, they're likely going to keep watching the next video.
Yeah. And this is something that I push on so many of our clients so much, which is this concept of an ecosystem. The internet's an ecosystem. It's not a linear path anymore. What I mean by that is that if you can do that, right? If you can hook somebody with a short, get them to watch a longer video, and get them to watch all the way to the end, the data that sends back to the platform, in the amount of recommendations of you that they're going to not only be getting on YouTube, but then when they open Instagram, when they go on their TikTok, all of a sudden they're going to start seeing your shorts popping up there. That is the compacting snowball effect of what today's internet is all about. So we used to run on like this cookie system. We still do a little bit, right? Like internet cookies where you it's literally, if you're on an internet browser, you go to somebody's website, they get a cookie that then you can then track them around with like remarketing. That died for privacy issues, a whole bunch of legal reasons, right? But the thing is that our phones have everything that they need. And they track all of our behavior, all of our conversations, and we're opting into allowing these platforms to do that. As a marketer, I love it because it, makes my job a lot easier. So the key thing here, right, is if you were to boil it down, right, YouTube's algorithm, the most important thing, watch time, right, is getting someone to watch and stay on your videos and watch more and more and more. Because once you do, they're hooked. They're not going to be able to escape you for at least a 2-week period. And at that point, you've got them in a conversion window where they're going to convert somewhere along the path. So what would you say, Jeff? Because this is something that I've struggled with as well, right? Like my videos, I find a pretty significant, like when you look at the analytics of most videos, they pretty high watch rate and then fall off right around maybe a minute time, right? What types of tips, tricks, coaching do you provide your clients to get people to watch longer, right? Is there any scripting tips? Is there any editing tips? Is there anything that you do within your content that increases that dwell time to push it further?
Yes. So the first thing is most attorneys do their videos wrong because they do big lead-ins, they do big openings, and they do big endings. What they'll do is they'll open up by saying, "Hey, I'm Jeff Hampton with Hampton Law Firm. I really appreciate you joining me here today." And I tell lawyers, no one cares who you are. No one. Think about this. When you go to YouTube, inherently our society does not trust people they don't know. So there's no reason for them to care about who you are until you give them a reason to care. And so what you have to do from the very beginning is I script the first 30 seconds of every video I do. And I mean scripted. And what I mean is there needs to be a hook. So here's what happens. You got to hook your viewer. So let's say the very beginning is like the video on the bullet video that you talked about earlier on the Hampton Law channel.
Yep.
If I remember the way that I started that, it was me basically setting the stage by saying, what happens if a cop comes up to your front or pulls you over and comes up to your window and demands to search your car because they see a bullet. Now, I said it better than that, but essentially I set the stage by saying, can you say no? Is it legal for cops to do this? And then what you do is you say this. Basically, you got to set the stakes. If you don't learn this information and you're in this situation, this could cost you by the difference between driving away free or ending up in jail, right? I'm giving them a reason to care. Then I have to give them my credibility. Why should they listen to me? Who am I? Well, what I do is I'll say, I'm Jeff Hampton, former prosecutor turned people's lawyer. And I've seen thousands of law enforcement interactions just like this. And I'm going to give you exactly what you need to do to survive this encounter. Now people go, oh, okay, wow, I have a reason to listen to this guy. That's his background. He knows what he's talking about. Then you jump straight into the content. You don't wind up. You don't ask people to subscribe and like. You don't ask any of that. You literally start with the hook, set the stakes, go straight into your credibility and jump into the content. And what'll happen is you go to those retention graphs. And my goal is to try to keep 70% retention in the first minute. If I can keep people watching 70% within the first minute, then that sends amazing signals to the YouTube algorithm saying, hey, this is a high quality video. And then even once you get into your content, here's the biggest mistake I see. People will say things like, well, a cop could come up to your front door and then he could do this and then he could do that. We just use the word and. Every time you think of saying and as a transition, use the word but. But, and then what you do is you transition by saying, hey, I just shared a thought with you. But even if you do this, if you miss this, it won't matter what you just did, right? What you're doing is you're creating this like, oh, wait a minute, what? It's a transitional intrigue where it opens your mind to say, okay, wait a minute. Now I understand that was great what you just said, but I don't want to FOMO here. I don't want to have the fear of missing out on what I need to know in order to get to the next point. When you use terms like that, and then you continue using storytelling, I will, instead of just talking legalese, quit using legal language, period. Don't use, as much as possible, don't use legal words, and then use stories to illustrate your point. If you use stories and then you have B-roll that looks similar to your story, it's like watching a movie. It's like everyone inherently loves stories. That's what movies are about. That's the whole movie industry. Well, when you integrate a story to share a concept and then transition to the next point, you'll see your retention graph stay high. Most retention graphs look like hockey sticks. It's here, boom, and then like this, right? What you want to do is see a nice little bunny slope on its way down is what you want to see. That's a normal, really good, strong retention graph. And then the last thing to do, you talked about what happens at the very end when you see a big drop. That's because you don't know, most people don't know how to use a call to action. What do you want people to do when you get to the end of the video? You have to decide that. Now I'm going to tell you, for criminal defense, for my asset protection channel, I like to use lead magnets because I want to build an email database. And so if someone watches my asset protection content all the way to the end, which is usually pretty in-depth, granular type stuff, and it's for high-end investors, when they get to the end, they liked what they've heard from me. So I'm going to give them the 3 tips to start their Airbnb portfolio protection plan right now. Go down into the description. I'll send you that to you today. And they're going to exchange their email with me, where now I can remarket to them, and I can now build a relationship and nurture them so that I'm able to leverage my videos to build an email list. Then I set up affiliate relationships with other people where I can introduce them to other products and make money on that relationship. But if it's criminal defense, it's harder to do because there the sales window is like 48 hours, right? So there it's all about just keeping them watching. And by the way, keep your phone number. No one does this. Literally, no one does this that I've seen. Keep your phone number on the top left portion of your video. You don't ever have to ask people to call you. It's already there. As they listen to you, their peripheral vision is like, oh man, I need to call this guy. I never have to ask. They're just value, I'm calling. Never needed to ask for anybody to call me for help. So when you make it easy on the viewer, that helps with the conversion aspect of it as well.
So I have a question for you about practice area now, right? I've always looked at family law as probably one of the, I don't want to say easier, but like there's so many more topics that can kind of flow in family law because there's so much emotion, there's so much question, there's so much, you're going through a divorce, you're going through child custody, there's so much information that an attorney can provide, right? Criminal defense, you've been able to open it up at the top of the funnel because there's so much interest. I mean, just any legal TV show, right? You can kind of take that type of vein. I mean, I just filtered for your most popular videos too, and it's pretty much all about issues with police, right? Obviously, that's a very viral, explosive topic in American society today.
Of course.
But what about something like personal injury, right? Like something where after you kind of scrape the bottom funnel topics, aka the search topics, like what do I do? Like how many times can an attorney create a video about what to do after you get in a car accident, right? And that topic is also so heavily spammed and saturated, right? Like to the point where it's like, let me just use Google's AI answer to handle this for me because it's it's too much. Like injury is the most competitive practice area. It's the most expensive practice area. I'm sure you've consulted and coached with a lot of injury accident attorneys. How do you help them with topics? How do you guide them?
Yeah, so really great question. So this goes back to how do you start? Like what I care about is I want to know what's working on YouTube right now. Okay. And the best way to do that is there are different strategies about doing some reconnaissance and research on YouTube. Believe it or not, there are some decent personal injury attorneys using YouTube right now. Not a lot, but there are a few of them who are doing a good job of using updated types of thumbnails and titles. And they're not just doing what most personal injury lawyers do. And I'm not blaming them. They just don't know. You don't know what you don't know. Is what they're doing is they're treating every video like a commercial. It's like a 2-minute deal where they're like, hey, we're the best lawyers on the planet and we can help you get all the money in the world. No one watches those, and they're mainly just using them for ads. But instead, don't just look. Start with car accidents, truck accidents. How many stories can you tell, whether it be from a similar client, whether it be from something in the news? Think about the example of a car accident or a truck accident, a FedEx truck, like here in Dallas. There was a FedEx truck where a FedEx driver abducted a girl and kidnapped her. Well, if you're the family of this girl, what is the liability of FedEx? Like, that's a story that if you frame it right, and you show it right, it's tangentially related to injury law, which is like if I watch that, I would say, you know what, man, if I ever needed something, that guy right there is the guy I'm going to call, because he's already laid out for me how they could be held liable for their actions under agency law and different things like that. There are ways that you can get creative on that, as opposed to saying car accident. And you can talk about other areas that people need. Insurance. How do you deal with your insurance companies? How do you make sure you're not getting screwed by your insurance company? What happens even if you don't make money on it? What about dealing with property? Because most personal injury lawyers don't want to deal with if it's only a property claim, but you can give away that information and give that, because every time they try to call a lawyer, they're not getting any straight answers. That helps grow the channel. It also helps grow the returning viewer. You're going to have returning viewers who are going to want to come back because they're like, man, that guy gives away this information that I can't get calling anyone else. And so back to your original question, though, I want to see who's doing it now. So here's the key. Do some searches for some personal injury lawyers. Look at the ones who have some good subscribers, but it's not really subscribers. Go to their videos and look at most popular. Look and see which of their most popular videos within the last year or two, mainly within the last 12 months, which ones are popular. You'll find over time that you'll start to see a pattern of types of content people want to watch more of. You're looking at a potential avatar, a viewer avatar of people looking at this content, that you can now start off creating a certain type of content that you know will likely already resonate with that viewer. And then the beautiful thing is, when you start your channel, do 5 videos before you launch anything. Do 5 full videos, then launch all 5 at the same time. Because if you just launch one, the YouTube algorithm doesn't know who you are. They don't know what kind of content you are. They don't know what you stand for. They can't suggest your video and send it out to people if they don't know what your channel represents. So you want to get stuff out there so you can get some data into the YouTube algorithm and start getting data back. And what you'll find is, like you talked about shorts, those shorts, if you launch 20 shorts, you're going to see 2 or 3 of those shorts are going to do way better than all the other 17. Do more of that kind of content. Test which content resonates from your shorts and go deeper by what you do on your long form video.
Yeah. I found that TikTok is a really, really, really good source as well. I actually have a separate TikTok account that I've created, and I only follow attorneys, mostly younger attorneys too, obviously, but and they do a tremendous job of finding like a viral clip of like a dog attacking somebody, or like a fight at a football game, or I saw this one where this lady had a dash cam and she got in a car accident because the person backed into them in person for like insurance fraud, right? And taking that and then providing commentary on top of it, because you're taking something that's viral and engaging in nature, right? And then providing the legal commentary on top of it.
It's good.
But the biggest thing is always just been the time, because I do a lot of coaching consulting, because to hire an agency to do this, right? And I go through the same thing with my agency clients, where especially attorneys, they just want to dump it on somebody because they can't fathom having the time to do it, right? And I get it, right? That's why our agency is a completely done for you service with paid search, paid social, and also SEO, because those are things that they can just wipe their hands up and dump on an agency. But content creation is something that needs to become a core part of the DNA of any brand, right? Whether you're a law firm, agency, coffee shop, it doesn't matter. Content is the glue, especially video content, for all great marketing, right? It's also probably the best and only way to really build a brand and build equity in the business long term. So I don't know if there's a good answer for it aside from the fact. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I completely agree. And the one thing I'm going to tell you this, not that anybody, I know Mr. Beast has nothing to do with the law, but one of the things he said that what he thinks is going to happen over the next 10 years on YouTube is that it's going to be transformative for service businesses when they realize the power of the reach and visibility they can create through video. And we've seen how Google can change things in a heartbeat. Go back and look at the change in May when they went to the search generative experience model. And now I feel like there's more ads being pushed than ever. It's very difficult to scale organic. It's almost impossible now. And so what you want to do is play in a pond with fewer fish. And right now, there is no better time to start doing YouTube than right now. Because as lawyers figure out they can do this, you're going to have more competitors in YouTube trying to create similar content that you're going to be competing for the same space.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I've been doing search marketing. That's been like a core part of what I've done for the last 15 years. And I am not romantic. Unlike other SEO professionals, like I'm not romantic about it. I've seen the writing on the wall with Google for years. I mean, aside from the fact that the government literally might blow Google up,
Right.
like literally might blow them up. I always put myself in the shoes of the consumer first, because I'm a consumer, right? And I look at my own behavior. To me, that's the best research that you can do, is just understand how you are using these platforms, and really be very mindful and cognizant of it, right? Don't just mindlessly scroll through your phone and whatever, blah, blah. And I look at my experience with Google and how I'm heavily defecting now into other platforms like YouTube. I had a baby this past year, and Google was useless for the information that I like, completely useless. I could not find the information that I needed, and I ended up defecting to TikTok and YouTube especially. And it even more so because those platforms are very responsive to what you're doing there, and then will customize your feed based on what you engage with and what you search for. And it's faster, you know, again, like the level of content that and information that you get from video versus having to scroll through like SEO content. And I get it. I do it all the time. Like SEO content is now 3,000 words of 95% useless information that you could have gotten from a 15-second video. So I totally agree. I think search, if you were a law firm, like search still has its place at the very bottom of the funnel, right? Like if you're able to get to the top of search, run LSAs, run paid search, and do so that makes sense economically for where your law firm is, because it's expensive. But if you can figure out the math on that, it's going to be your number one source of leads for the foreseeable future. But to your point, if you want to start investing in the equity and the long-term health of your business, it's 100% YouTube, 1,000%.
By the way, here's the number one reason I tell people they should do it. Those that are just doing LSAs, local service ads, they're doing pay-per-click, they're doing all the normal ad campaigns. How much would it cost for you to pay per click or per call? And I'm going to call it call. So I don't know about in most other people's regions, but you can easily pay $200 to $300 for a local service ad call.
Yeah.
Easy. And I get 150 to 200 of those calls per month from organic YouTube.
Yeah.
Just do the math.
Yeah.
That's what it's worth to me. Now, once you build your brand, YouTube now pays me between $15,000 to $20,000 a month in ad revenue that I can now turn around and reinvest back in my business to pay for more ads or to pay for whatever I want to drive more business. So actually YouTube pays me to advertise for free to make an additional $2 million a year for my criminal defense practice. So what I tell people is getting started on that and getting those calls, those are evergreen. I'm still getting calls from videos I created 2.5 years ago. I'm still getting calls from those every month. Yeah. Because of the search aspect of it, and because people don't quit needing what you're offering.
Yeah. And also too, just if we're being like really, really honest about call quality, right? Like we track everything, and search first platforms, Google, YouTube, have the highest intent and the highest quality leads because people are actually searching for it, right? They're going out of their way to tell you what they're impacted with,
right?
UI, blah, blah, whatever. You're still probably only in like good scenarios, 10% of those leads are going to turn into cases. That's like what our data shows, right? So it's a volume game. It is a numbers game. Whether you're an accident lawyer, DUI, family law, like you need 20x the phone calls that you're currently getting if you really want to scale, right? And when we talk about being the economics of getting that, if you're going to pay that through Google, like you're looking at $50,000 to $100,000 a month, easy. Now that should return if your intake is good and this and that, but the margin on that is getting smaller and smaller. And if you really want to start putting more profit into your business, you have to figure out organic channels, and no agency is going to come in and do that for you. Sorry, attorneys. Like it's something that like you have to take ownership of. You have to figure out how you're going to do it, or the rug is just going to keep getting pulled out from underneath you. Because I have these conversations, Jeff, 15 attorneys a week, sales calls. I have one just after this, and they can't wrap their head around why their business is essentially cratering. And it's because the economics of this country and marketing and competition around them is rising it's outpacing what they're charging. It's literally what's happening to the consumer here, right? Like I'm in Miami, the housing market here, like it is, the cost of living here has outpaced what people are making. It's the same thing with your business. So if you're going to not just like survive, but thrive in the next 5 to 10 years, like you have to figure something else out. And like, it's not something that I can come in and do for you as an agency. It's something that you have to put in the sweat equity to do.
And by the way, the fact you mentioned that's the whole reason YouTube Rainmakers even began to exist, is attorneys were reaching out trying to figure out how to do this, because people haven't written a playbook on how to do YouTube and how to actually put something together to grow your business through using a multi-channel approach. But I agree with you. You need to have a holistic marketing approach where you're still using you're still using some sense of, pay-per-click. You're using some type of ad approach as well as organic. But when you get to the video side, when you get to coming and putting some of this stuff together, you can get a lot of traction real quick, because a lot of attorneys don't, I hate to say this, they're just lazy. They don't want to do it. And if you take the time to do it and you have the plan on how to do it, then you're going to be able to differentiate yourself very quickly. Because even if we're having challenges at my law firm right now on occasionally with the ad campaigns, you're trying to get the optimization right, I'm getting those solid calls from YouTube every single month. And we have a 20 to 25% higher conversion rate on those warm calls from YouTube than we do from cold calls from some type of ad.
Yeah, 100%.
So,
all right, Jeff, well, I appreciate your time. I know you're a busy guy. Why don't you tell the audience the best place to find you and connect with you?
Absolutely. So you can reach out to me on LinkedIn. You can find me there, Jeff Hampton, or you can reach out to YouTubeRainmakers.com. My YouTube channel is Hampton Law, and I also have another channel under my name, Jeff Hampton. It's Asset Protection. Either way, if you ever have questions about YouTube or how to get started, happy to share resources with you to get you going.
Awesome. Well, we'll make sure to link to those underneath this show. Jeff, I appreciate your time again.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. Enjoyed it.
Hey, Ryan here. Hope you liked that video. If you want more, check out these 2 videos right here on the screen.